What's up guys, it's Dave again with another episode of El Jardín Perdido. A few people have reached out to me asking me how I make raw goat yogurt, and today we're going to check that out. Some things you'll need: a sterilized pot, a cooler, preferably something a little more sturdy than this. I was in a bind, so this is what I'm using. Some sterilized containers, and for sterilization I just boil them and let them air dry. I have a quart of fresh goat milk here. For this example, I'm going to show you guys using a pre-made yogurt. This is a goat yogurt, if you want to see up close. All organic, plain, nothing weird in there. But you can also order your own culture online, which I am waiting on. So in the meantime, that's what I'll do. And this is my secret ingredient to thicken. This is just powdered goat milk. Some people in other recipes to thicken it have used just standard cow milk. I'm not sure about that. I'm not going to vouch for it. To me, it would seem logical to use goat's milk. But okay, so one of the main differences between making raw yogurt versus traditional yogurt, well, not traditional, this is a more modern thing, is that they will put it up to about 160 to 180 to kill off anything that might be in the milk. For yogurt, I can actually see the justification of this because you only want the specific bacteria that you're introducing to take over. But to me, milk in itself, in its raw state, already has a lot of beneficial bacteria, not to mention you'd be breaking up protein chains and enzymes as well. So I'm keeping it raw, and you can probably go up to about 110, maybe even 115. I'm gonna keep it at a steady 100, maybe like 105 at the max. But yeah. One thing you want to be sure of, I also forgot you guys will need a thermometer to monitor things. This was a full day's worth of milk, and some of it was in the fridge, about half of it, and I just milked the goats. So it's not that cold, not that warm either, pretty close to room temperature. Okay, so I kind of have everything I need here. So what I do is I use these, I think they're like 4 ounces or something, but there's these little mini mason jars. And from past experience, it's been about 3 of these, but we'll see. So what I'm gonna do for my batch, I'm not gonna fill it all the way up because it will expand a little between being refrigerated, the bacteria, and also the dried milk there. So I'm gonna put almost 3 of these in there. And I've got a little extra for myself, that's cool. You're going to want to monitor your temperature, but we'll do that in a sec. Actually, let's bring it up first to a nice 100 degrees before I introduce the yogurt or the dried goat milk. So as of now, we're at 80. And another word of caution, know your stove, because some people will crank it up and it'll just hit 120, 130 and defeat the whole purpose here. I know this stove pretty well, so I'm just gonna kind of stir around. Once it gets going, it gets going, but yeah. No, it's starting to creep right now. So going from 80 to 100 isn't much of a thing. And the yogurt here, it's not too cold. I pulled it out of the fridge a little while ago. We'll have all that on standby for a sec. And yeah, we're creeping up to 100. So for this batch, I add about, real quick math wise, and we're just under 100 here. Math wise, 4 quarts in a gallon, right? I'm doing a little under a quart. So I'm using about half a cup of yogurt for my batch. So if you do the math, that might be 2 of these. So we're gonna get that in there. Sorry guys, I'm working kind of opposite as I usually would for video purposes. And let me see what this actually measures. It doesn't say. 1 scoop is 2 teaspoons. So I used about half a scoop. I'm gonna get that in there. So again, for a gallon it'd be 2 scoops. Which is equal to 4 tablespoons. So we're right at 100 degrees, and I'm just whisking all of this in really well, especially the powdered goat's milk, because that could chunk up on you. All right, that's mixed in pretty well. On a side note, this is not a cooking show, so I don't have my own fancy island, or I actually do have an island here, but it's not really adequate space. But yeah, I do gardening tutorials and kind of show off my urban farm. So I don't do much cooking, maybe I will in the future, but I thought research-wise, I probably compiled information from like 5 videos and a little bit of trial and error to figure out my preference. That's another thing with this, guys. Do not take me verbatim. Maybe try it, and if it's to your liking, go for it. If you think it's too thick or too thin or too sour. The other factor is I'm making mine plain, and for my kids, every once in a while I'll blend up a few strawberries into it, into maybe 1 batch. But I think it's overkill. I mean, especially when it's raw and from your own goats and fresh, it's a lot different than if you were to go get plain Greek yogurt at the store that'd be sitting there forever. So we're still at 100 degrees here. I'm going to cook it up, maybe hit right around 103, because we're going to transport this into the glass containers here, and they'll be a little bit more cool. Glass conducts heat really well, so, and cold. So by the time we pour this out, it'll still be a nice 100, just like a little fluctuation here and there. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but I am reusing the one I measured with. I'm not worried about sterilizing it because I'm using raw milk, and raw milk went in there. So yeah. Also, on a side note, I got a cheap lavalier mic. So if you guys watch my videos or you subscribe, leave a little comment if you think the audio quality is better. Okay. All right, actually real quick, pop those in the freezer because they were hidden like a little more than I wanted to. I think it'll be fine. So that's something to watch out for. Don't chit chat while you're making this. The stove works pretty quick, and depending on the pot you're using, it'll probably conduct pretty quickly. So keep your eye on it. It should be a really quick process. In the meantime, I'm going to wash out the pot here, and I'm gonna get some water up to about 105, maybe 107, because we're gonna do a water bath. Just a sec. And actually, you don't have to worry about this being sterile or anything either, but actually, my water heater cranks up real good. And so, straight out of the faucet, I'm at 115. So I'm gonna let that cool down for a bit while the milk's cooling down. Just like I was saying about these containers, that they're gonna be a little cooler, this is naturally gonna be room temperature or a little bit cooler. It's just plastic. So actually, yeah, a little higher than 100 is fine because it's going to kind of transfer all that heat around and kind of reach an equilibrium there. So let me check on the milks here. Okay, so I pulled the to-be yogurt out and it is at about 103, which is fine. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten these up. And I'm gonna place some right in the cooler here. That's another reason why I make 3, because it fits perfectly into this little camping cooler. And I'm gonna go ahead, I'm actually gonna add some cooler water to this bath because it's pretty high. Okay, so we're at about 107 there. And what we're gonna do, these are all sealed up, so we're just gonna pour the water in there. And I'm not fully submerging them because I'll be adding water in there periodically. Checking the temperature. This is not something you need to baby, but another aspect here, this is not a great cooler. If I had a better cooler, I could probably set it and forget it. Most recipes call for 12 hours of incubation. Incubation is where you finally put it in the bath and you just let it sit. And I'm gonna put it somewhere and I'm not gonna touch it. I'm not gonna rattle it or anything like that. If I need to check the temperature, just unzip it, give it a little dip, check the temperature. I find that it retains that nice target of 100 to 110 for about quite a few hours, probably like 3 or 4 hours. So I'll do it as I'm winding down, kind of in the evening, and then I'll check it maybe in 2 hours, and maybe add a little bit, maybe put it like a little bit higher because it will cool down. And so my recipe, the way I do it, technically I'm incubating it. They're in the cooler for a whole 24 hours, but really they're only being actively incubated for probably around 10 to 12 hours because I'm gonna start incubating now and check in a few hours, so that'll perpetuate till about, you know, quite a few hours, and then I'm gonna go to bed. So in that time, at some point, it's gonna cool off to probably 90 or 85. And so when I wake up, I'm gonna add it again. And then right before I go to work, whether I have work or have the day off, I'm gonna add some more and make sure it's cool and let it sit. So during that 24-hour duration, you're giving it time slots to activate all the bacteria and get everything going. So if you're stay at home or whatever, or you have a really fancy cooler, or some people have even used a dehydrator because it'll keep a constant heat. I don't know, I think some may be using crock pots too. So if you have something that can keep a constant, they say 12 hours. I would do your own math, but the way my math calculates, mine's roughly 12 hours, but the time length of everything is probably 24 hours, but it's really low maintenance for me, and I'm just dabbing a little water in there here and there. So I'm gonna check the temperature. And I'm at about 103, which is fine because it'll lose heat pretty quick. I have a little spot that typically I put it on the cutting board because it's another technicality. My house is leveled on cinder blocks, so there's a lot of like updraft and the floor gets kind of cold. So I actually put it on top of something and have the wood here under the cooler for a little bit of insulation, because if I were to just put this in the corner on the floor, it would cool off pretty quickly. For now, I'm just gonna leave it here. What I'm gonna do is check on it in a few hours before I go to bed. It's actually really late, so probably an hour before I go to bed, and let it sit overnight. And when I wake up, I'll check the temperature again, and I'll get back with you guys when that 24-hour mark hits, and we'll see what this actually looks like. Okay guys, so it's been a full 24 hours and we're back. We're gonna see what we have here. Water's a little bit warmer than room temperature, but I'm gonna go ahead and crack one of these open and show you the consistency. All right, so here we are. Just close up there. Nice taste, but what I've also done is taken one of them, popped it in the freezer for a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and grab that and show you guys. Okay, so this one is nice and chilled. And as you'll see, it has a much thicker, creamier consistency, and also tastes much better. I didn't add anything to this. What I'm gonna go ahead and do, it's okay, Joss, come here. I'm gonna pop you on the stove here. Okay. So you can be in the video. Careful, okay? Don't touch these little knobs down here. Okay. All right. So we're gonna have my daughter, Jossie, here take the taste test. What do you think?
Weird but good.
Weird. You want it with a strawberry?
Yeah.
All right. All right, so what do? We take...
Strawberry.
Uh-oh, is that goat hair? Just kidding. We take a bite. Take a bite of the strawberry.
Yeah.
And then we take a bite. Okay, you take a bite and chase it. It's good that way. Better? Mm-hmm. Okay, and so with her, I usually blend up a little strawberry in the batch, which you guys can do after it's chilled. Anyway, as said before, this is just kind of my take, my preference, how I like to do things, so you guys can take it at your own will. One thing I will say is if somewhere during the process, maybe the temperature gets up to like 110, that's completely fine. I was trying to be very by the book and be raw, but I've done it before where it's gone up to like 110, 112, and the yogurt's been completely fine. Anyway, I hope you guys found this informative. Make sure and subscribe if you want to keep up with more projects I'm doing. I'm also going to do a future video on raw cheese, raw goat cheese. Anyway guys, feel free to comment if you have an alternate take or kind of secret that I don't know about. I'm always interested in experimentation, so yeah, do that, and
don't forget to like and subscribe.
All right, thanks guys, till next time.